All right, so this is a squat series that I'd like to do with the focus being on squats. So one of the most difficult squats for my clients and for myself when I first started doing it is the balance beam squat. So I call it the balance beam squat because it's like you're walking on a balance beam. And of course, with my feet being straight, that's one of a difficult position to maintain stability because I'm least stable in this position. So a lot of times what I'll do with my clients, especially to increase their balance, is that I'll just start with a bench behind them. So I know that they have support, and usually most benches in the gym kind of drop me down 90 degrees. So you can see my legs 90, which is pretty good. That's where I want to be. I eventually want them not to use this bench, and so I can have them come up in a squat position and just kind of tap it and come back up where they're just kind of just barely touching it, or some might need to just completely sit down in it. So the balance beam squat is what I call a split stance squat. After they've basically completed a squat with their feet wide, they're going to then start getting closer and closer to that balance beam squat. So I just was successful at that. Now I'm going to go where I'm actually heel to toe and then do my balance beam squat. So again, what I want to do is find what I'm successful with. So some of my clients might not get to that point, and they might have to have that space. But if they went 1 centimeter more closer to the balance beam squat, they're losing their balance. So we always want to use successful movements to strengthen or to get rid of the unsuccessful movement. Another way I can do that is just by turning my top foot out. So this would be toed out and doing it, or even turning it into a toed up, toed in position or a toed out position, because again, I've increased the stability. Now I am successful in that movement, and then I can actually, I'm in the balance beam squat, right? And I'm successful, and then eventually what I want to do is start towing that in and getting to where it is my feet are straight. So again, I'm pushing that boundary, that envelope, so to speak, of successful and unsuccessful, so that I'm right at that borderline of success and unsuccess. And then what will happen is, especially if I'm consistent enough and keep working on that movement, was that I will make the unsuccessful successful, and that's what we want. So why balance beam squats? Well, I can put this in a different way. Let's just take the Joe average person. I'm here in Western New York in Buffalo, and you might catch yourself on an icy street, and if your feet get slipping like this and you're here, and if you cannot be successful in that movement in a controlled environment like the gym where it's slow and I have a bench behind me, then if in a chaotic environment such as ice or something, and when the speeds have increased, I have now increased my chance for injuring or hurting myself. If I'm an athlete, I like to use my nephew, who's a high school goalkeeper, and if he goes up, and I used to play college soccer myself, and when there's 5 or 6 people trying to head the ball and getting tangled up in them, he might land in this position because of all the feet. A basketball player, same thing, going for a rebound or something. So if they're not successful being in that position, then they are in trouble. And like I always state, we want to find our weaknesses and we want to kill the weak so that we no longer have the weaknesses. So balance beam squat is a split stance squat. I've got a bench behind me, and I'm just tapping. And then again, I'm gradually being successful to where I don't need the bench. I can do it, right, without the bench. And also, you want to make sure, is there a difference between my left and the right? And a lot of times you find, of course, and when I first started doing it, I noticed that when my right was in front of my left, I was falling all over the place. And I always tell my clients I did 300 of them every day, and it only took me a few days to then correct it. So with my client, I know sometimes they get frustrated, so to speak, but when they come with me, if I know that there's a weakness and they haven't yet worked on it, then for them to get the most out of their session with me, I want them to work on their weakness. And it's very difficult for people to kind of see it because, of course, they're like, well, I'm not burning calories or anything like that. When you build and you get those weaknesses, you're just going to move better. And again, you're going to decrease your chance of injuring yourself, and that's what you want. You want to make sure that whatever you're doing in the gym doesn't injure yourself, and then that it's moving you forward and you're progressing. And when you take care of those weaknesses, you'll keep progressing, and you're going to get what you want in the long run. Balance beam squat, put it in your repertoire.